Hispanic groups. Altogether, nationwide, it drew millions of people to the streets.
Yeah, demonstrators are asking Congress to pass a bill that would legalize nearly 11 million illegal immigrants. In Tyler, the city closed parts of Ferguson Street, Irwin Street, and College Avenue for the event. After the rally, demonstrators marched downtown. KLTV 7's Auralia Ortega was there.
More than 2,000 people packed Tyler's downtown square for this morning's demonstration, according to officials. Story after story, each person said it all boils down to one thing: giving immigrants a chance at a better life.
It's not a crime to come here and work. However, it may be, legally or illegally. We're here for the future, for our children.
We all came here because in our countries there aren't the same opportunities there are here.
The demonstrators brought signs as well as American and Mexican flags. Most of them wore white to stand for peace. Many waved white flags.
We are here to celebrate the Day of the Immigrant.
Longview attorney Jose Sanchez began planning the event 2 weeks ago. He says the response from the community was outstanding and the demonstration was peaceful.
Here we had a lot of people that weren't immigrants, just regular Americans, African Americans, Caucasians. They were all here, they spoke, and I think that showed a lot that, you know, we're all the same, we're all neighbors, and we need to work together to make this country better.
After the rally, demonstrators walked about a quarter of a mile down Ferguson Street to Bonner Avenue. Then they came back to the square. Auralia Ortega, KLTV 7 News.
And there were mixed emotions from East Texans on the square this morning. During the more than 2-hour rally, some citizens say it's their right to voice their opinions, while others came out against the rally.
It is an illegal movement, and they need to become legal. They need to do something about the legality. The children being out here, they're violating truancy. The whole thing is based on illegality.
The reason why I'm doing it is, it's like I just told you, you know, it's absurd for what they're coming over here and doing. You know, they're over here illegally, taking our jobs.
America is a wonderful place to be, and I can't blame them for wanting to come here. I wouldn't want to live in the conditions some of them live in.
These immigration protests all have a goal: keeping lawmakers focused on this hot-button issue. Just last week, Congress left for Easter break without passing a compromise bill on guest workers. Today, we've brought in two influential people in our East Texas communities to talk more about their stances on these issues. Our Joe Terrell is with them now. Joe?
All right, thank you, Christina. With State Representative Leo Berman and Longview Attorney Jose Sanchez, they both have been actively involved in this debate, and we wanted to bring them in to ask them some of the questions that you at home may have about this issue, how it could or could be affecting you. Let's get started with this. First of all, I think both you gentlemen know there are estimated about 11 million illegal immigrants from Mexico living in the United States. Do you both agree that, first of all, that something has to be done? And if so, what is that something? Let's start with you, Mr. Berman.
Joe, I serve on a National Immigration Task Force as a representative of the Texas legislature. The 11 million figure is just a guess. We're told on that task force that we have between 11 and 23 million illegals living in the United States. We're a country of law, and we have to observe those laws. And yes, the first thing that we have to do is shut the border down now, because not only do we have illegals coming across, we also have drug runners, we have terrorists and criminal gangs. So the first thing that we have to do is shut the border.
All right, Mr. Sanchez, how about you?
I agree with that, Joe. Obviously, I think we're on agreement something has to be done. Obviously, both sides of the Congress are for that. The problem is what has to be done exactly. Obviously, I'm in support as long as like all the other rally people are, some kind of avenue to give these residents, even people that have been undocumented here for a long time, an avenue to get their citizenship. And I think that's where the difference is. But I don't think anybody that was at the rally today does not disagree that the border does need to be toughened. I think just how we're going to do it.
You mentioned that both sides of Congress have some differences, and they're drastic differences, regardless of which bill eventually makes it through. Do you agree that? Do you think that East Texans should be bearing the burden of illegal immigrants as far as financially? We're talking about things like health care, we're talking about crime, education, welfare. Do you think it's fair for people at home to be paying for this, regardless of what happens?
You know, in this country, we have to provide free education, free health care, and we have to incarcerate illegal criminals. and it's costing the state of Texas over $1 billion a year right now. In fact, there's no real estimate. It's somewhere between $1 and $2 billion. And no, we shouldn't have to bear that burden. No other country in the world bears that burden. And for that reason, we have to do something now, not only about the border, but we have to work toward a disposition of the 11 to 23 million here in the United States right now.
Mr. Sanchez, what do you say to people at home saying, I don't want to pay for this?
Well, first of all, I want to clarify some things too, Joe. Obviously, first of all, illegals and undocumented people do not qualify for medical benefits. Okay, obviously they can use the emergency room.
They use emergency room.
They use emergency suite, obviously.
Do you agree that there is some burden on the healthcare system because of that?
I think there is some burden, but I think overall, I think the immigrants pay more than what they receive. After the 96 Reform Act, 96 Reform Act, people started taking out Social Security from their employees, and when they came back with no match letters, that money was put in a surplus of over $50 billion, where these illegal aliens or undocumented people are never going to get that money. So I think they're putting money in the system as well. They're paying sales tax like anybody else. They go to your Walmart, pay their sales tax. They pay property taxes because they rent buildings, they rent businesses and houses. That landlord puts that taxes into the rent. So you can't say that they're not putting anything into the system, and you can't say they're taking more than they are. I don't think there's really a way to find out exactly.
You know how they're struggling in Austin with things like education right now, with how to fund this. You're saying that the property tax that illegals pay here in Texas is enough to support what they're getting from the education system?
Well, I'm not saying exactly. I'm just saying that you can't say they don't pay any property taxes, which a lot of people say that they don't, because it just makes common sense. If I'm a landlord and I'm renting a house to these immigrant families, in my rent payment, I want to include some of the sales and the property taxes.
Sure.
So you can't say that they're not paying. Now, as to the education, every student, it's been a Supreme Court case here out of Tyler, the state, every person has a right to an education. You can't go back against what the government says and what the Supreme Court has stated. So they have the right to have that.
All right. Well, we want to thank